Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 79 of the J Situation Podcast. I'm recording this on September 14th, 2021. How you folks doing? Man, any of you guys get to shoot this past weekend? You did? Well, that's awesome, because I didn't. I'm so bummed. It's like that meme where Pablo Escobar is sitting there, and he's just staring and he's waiting. You guys ever watch Narcos? It's a good show on Netflix. You know, I'm sure you're familiar with the story of Pablo Escobar, but if not, that show is for you. I promise you that. Even if you're familiar with the story, I do urge you to check it out. It's a really good show. Also on Netflix, watched a really cool documentary the other day called Count Me In. It's about drummers. It's like about rock and jazz drummers. It's really neat. It's a really good documentary. I thought maybe they would have included some drummers that they didn't include, so I was a little surprised with that. Like they didn't have Neil Peart from Rush, which I thought was weird. They didn't have Danny Carey from Tool. I thought they would have those folks on there. You know, really iconic technical drummers. They didn't have them. They did have some really cool ones though. They had the guy from Iron Maiden, who he's kind of a lunatic, right? But he's really good. He's really good. You know, that guy from Iron Maiden, he's famous for he would refuse to use double kick drums, right? He would just use the single one. He like, you know, when folks told him to use the double, he was like, nah, that's, you know, it wasn't pure to him or something. He was more traditional, but he was super famous for using a single kick drum really, really quickly. So that was cool. And he had a really big part in the documentary. So it was neat to hear from that guy, even though sometimes you can't understand what he's saying because he's British. But yeah, man, this guy's talking about drumming. What is this? I thought he was going to talk about silencers. Yeah, no, silencers. So you should go buy some. Yeah, from Silencer Shop. The J Situation Podcast is proudly sponsored by Silencer Shop, the most efficient and intelligent way to purchase silencers. You know, as a silencer consumer, Silencer Shop is not only my dealer of choice, but my infrastructure of choice. You know, that is really what it is. It's the infrastructure that I like. It's the QR code they use. You know, if I'm going to buy something on a Form 4 and I'm a consumer, I'm going to trust a ATF examiner to fat finger in the forms into the system? Yeah, no. It's going to be a recipe for disaster. Yeah, so, you know, you use Silencer Shop. Those examiners are seeing so many forms across their desk, man. There's no way they're not going to make a mistake. So if you have a QR code and they can scan it, it's a lot better. Trust me. So, you know, Silencer Shop has that on all their forms. All their stuff is, you know, encrypted securely in their kiosk, your fingerprints, all your biometrics, stuff like that. It's all there when you need it. You can use any of their dealers nationwide where silencers are legal. You know, you cut down on errors, you simplify your silencer purchasing process. There's a money-back guarantee. It's really cool. No transfer fees, no paperwork errors, just you and your silencer with no drama. It truly is silencer ownership simplified. It is. And secondly, and most importantly, this podcast is also sponsored by PEW Science, pushing the silencer industry forward one test at a time. Visit pewscience.com for the suppression rating, the simplest and the most accurate hearing safe ratings for your suppressed small arms. They are based on true human sound perception. Okay, that rating is in section 5 of the Silencer Sound Standard. It walks you through gunshot noise, sort of like a Wikipedia article, but it's cooler because it's about silencer sound. There are 7 parts. They're all on pewscience.com for you to read, and if you haven't seen it, that's okay. Totally fine. You can skip directly to the suppression rating in section 5. You can. It lets you know how silencers stack up in comparison to one another with regard to sound at the muzzle and the shooter's ear. And it gives you a hearing safe dose limit for the particular platforms on which the silencers are tested. This is directly tied to human perception. Okay? If the rating is higher, it sounds better. If it's lower, it sounds louder. That's all there is to it. It's pretty cool. It is. It makes it really simple. It takes the guesswork out for you. You know what I mean? And you're not going to find this information anywhere else in the world. I promise you that. Believe me, if it existed, I would have used it. Now, the sixth and the final section of the standard, it contains all the reviews. You can go check them out on pewscience.com. And look, it's a lot of information. It's really in depth, and I understand if you don't want to look at it, it's fine. The ranking section does exist in section 7. Okay, it's a sortable database tool. It's a table there. Sort and view the data to your heart's content. And then if you find something you like, you want to drill down more, there's links in the table that'll take you back to section 6 to all the data. You can peruse it to your heart's content. Okay, go wild. And as always, if you are a manufacturer and you would like to use PEW Science for private testing and consulting services, there is a form on the website with which you can submit that inquiry. Your contact information and all the test data will be held in strict confidence. Anything we do, it is, client privileged, so nothing leaves the PEW Science vault unless, of course, you would like to release it to the public, in which case, be happy to help you do that on the website. Released several reviews from the private testing so far. You've seen some of that, and you'll continue to see those, here and there, in between the internally funded PEW Science data that I give you there. And you can support this podcast, PEW Science, and our testing by joining with a membership at pewscience.com. And, if that's too much for you, that's fine. It doesn't cost much, but, if it's, finances are tight, I understand that, especially in these trying times. So, you can always do things that don't cost you anything. You can spread the word, rate the podcast with a good rating on your podcast provider. Help folks know that silencers and guns are awesome. For the larger effort here, if we can just think about this as normalizing the use of suppressed small arms, I think we're all going to be better off. In the big scope. It's one of the goals. Okay, this might be a long episode. We're gonna try to do the topics justice. That's the most important part here. So no matter how long it takes, we're gonna get through it. So I have 4 topics that I would like to go into today for you. The first topic, Research Supplement 651, Unsuppressed Rifles. Okay, we're going to talk about the 10.3-inch Mark 18 as a silencer test host, which is relatively crazy. Okay, so we'll talk about that. Topic 2, Sound Signature Review 652, the Surefire SOCOM556-RC2 on the Mark 18 5.56. So it's a twofer for you, because we released 2 data publications last week, and so. Man, finally, right? You guys were waiting on this 5.56 data, so let's talk about that. And then topic 3, like I said, I didn't get to shoot my gun because of work. Boo. Yeah, it's a bummer. But also, I got the Griffin CAM-LOK parts in. I got all the parts in that I ordered, and I put those on the gun, I messed with stuff, and put them in some silencers. So I'll give you my initial impressions about that, and I will also give you some impressions and real firsthand experience shooting the weapon from a consumer that just contacted me about it this afternoon. That actually is not a good story, but it will be valuable for, I think, all of us to learn from. And then finally, topic 4, huge PEW Science welcome to 2 new corporate members. Shelton Precision out of Burlington, Washington. They build custom rifles, and also OSS Suppressors. They make silencers. Yeah, you guys know them. Super honored to have the support of both of those companies for the effort. That's crazy. Means a lot, as does the support from all the PEW Science members and you folks listening too. That's really great. So thank you for making the grassroots effort possible. It's awesome. All right, let's go into topic 1 at a time of 9 minutes and 4 seconds. Yeah, that was a little bit slower than I've been doing these past episodes. I've been keeping track here, but yeah, not all can be winners. Also, I paused and restarted several times during that intro because I'm losing my voice. So if I cough or have to drink water like right now, please excuse me. Okay, so this is topic 1, Research Supplement 651. Unsuppressed Rifles, the 10.3-inch Mark 18 as a silencer test host. Okay, so this is pretty crazy. I told you I was going to release something extra here for you in addition to a review, and this was that. Okay, that was the article. And I hope this was helpful. And if you haven't checked out the research supplement yet on the website, you should. It's free. Same information in it for the public as there is for members. There's nothing special to it as far as restriction. It's all free for everybody in the world. I wanted to make it publicly available due to the scope and the importance for the effort going forward. Okay, I think this is important for the state of practice at large, and it's going to help. Okay, so I'm not going to read it to you on the podcast because I think that's too much. And frankly, you guys can read, or at least I hope you can. So you can read it yourself. But what it does, I'm going to talk through it with you, just hit some high points. It summarizes unsuppressed rifle muzzle blast. Okay, and it talks about silencer performance on rifles, on semi-autos or automatics, and it gives you exact details of the PEW Science Mark 18 test host so you can understand the results that are published in context. Okay, so that's what that's for. And so now I do want to say something specifically about the muzzle blast that's described in the article and shown to you. Okay, so take a look. So I pulled it up here in front of me, so I'm looking through it. I have it in front of me. So this is in section 6 on the website, Sound Signature Review 651, if you want to follow along at home. And if you scroll down, past the forest, past the trees, you'll get to a plot. In figure 2A, it's kind of a weird looking plot. It's big and rectangular, and there's 3 waveforms on it. There's a black and a blue and a red. Okay. So that's figure 2A. And what this figure shows is unsuppressed muzzle blast for 3 different rifles. Okay, that's what that's showing. And the first rifle it's showing in the black there, in the black waveform, that's 20-inch 308 supersonic. And then in blue, it's showing 8-inch 300 blackout subsonic. And then in black, it's showing the 10.3-inch 5.56 out of the Mark 18. Okay, so notice how you see the normal subsonic stuff for 300 blackout, right? 300 blackout subsonic, we know, what do we know about 300 blackout subsonic and what we're going to see in early time? Okay, we're going to see the precursor flow, right? Precursor flow is something that happens. It pushes, the bullet's going to push the gas out of the barrel. The bullet's traveling slower than the speed of sound. The air in front of the bullet is able to compress. And what that does is it forms a pressure wave, all right, through the air. And you pick that up. You pick that up on the pressure sensor, and that's what you're seeing there. Even before the bullet leaves the barrel and the combustion products exit, you see that little precursor flow, just like you saw in the silencer sound standard, I believe in section 2 where I showed you subsonic 22 unsuppressed. Same thing happens with subsonic 300 blackout. Okay, that's precursor stuff. That's just there to show you that this is real. Okay, that's why I'm talking about that. And it kind of shows you the difference in phenomenology between subsonic and supersonic gun barrel projectile flow. Okay. So now for the 2 supersonic rifles, you see that the waveforms are extremely similar. It's actually kind of crazy, right? It's scary similar how they overlay in the first part. Okay, and it is coincidental that happens. It just so and this is weird, it just so happens that the primary blast from 20-inch 308 is very similar to the primary blast from 10-inch 5.56. It's just one of those things. It works out like that. Now, what is not similar between those 2 events is the secondary blast. Okay, so when you fire 5.56 out of a really short barrel, you get what we call secondary blast. So what that is, it's actually afterburning of the propellant in air. So the propellant that didn't get used up as the expanding gases were pushing the bullet out of the bore, because you only, remember, we designed, what was 5.56 by 45 millimeter designed for? It was designed for a 20-inch barrel, right? Well, what happens when you cut the barrel in half? Well, you had all that propellant. You meant to push a projectile through 20 inches. Well, you cut the barrel in half. You only push it through 10. Well, what happens to all the unburnt powder? Okay, well, all that powder, that propellant, it burns. Okay, I mean, it has to burn. It's a high pressure event. It's pushing the bullet down the bore. When that bullet reaches the muzzle, we call that uncorking. Okay, as the combustion byproducts are then free to meet the atmosphere, that's when the violence happens, right? That's when muzzle blast starts. When all those very high pressure products that are pushing that bullet, when they get to meet the air outside and they're like, whoa, it's time to be free. When they get free, it's chaos. I mean, it's shock load time in free air. Okay, so if there are still things left to burn when that happens, and those things haven't burned yet, well, man, they're gonna burn. I promise you that. So the environment inside and immediately near the barrel at really high temperature and pressure, that unburnt powder, when it encounters that environment, it is gonna burn rapidly, dude. It's gonna burn so quickly that it's gonna create a secondary lower amplitude shock. That's how fast it burns. Okay? The combustion is so quick that it shocks. Okay, it creates a shock in free air. And so what that does, it's funny, and you can see in the data. See, you see that second peak in the red waveform. That secondary lower amplitude shock wave, it happens less than a millisecond after the primary blast. All right, so you can see that. Look at the time scale on the horizontal axis there. You can see it. It's about 3/4 of a millisecond after the primary blast, right? And so that's when you get that secondary shock. Okay, so and that secondary shock, that's so strong that it almost reaches the level of the primary shock from subsonic 300 blackout. How wild is that? That's crazy. Because like you're like boom, and then you're really like boom boom, like really fast, and the second boom is so big that it almost reaches what the subsonic 300 blackout unsuppressed was. That's how significant that is. That's how different 10-inch 5.56 is from 20-inch 308. That's how much worse it is. And now you got to ask yourself, right? Now you got to ask yourself, what the heck does that do in reality? Right? So let's dig deeper, okay? You go to the next figure here. Figure 2B. Figure 2B shows the same blast wave. So it shows the same thing, but in impulse space. Okay? So the same exact wave, only we've done a numerical integration over time. We're taking the area under the pressure curve, and we're plotting it in a continuum. Okay? So this is impulse space. You see that secondary up in the 5.56 waveform? That's additive impulse contribution from secondary blast. That's crazy. Look how big it is. Look how big the curve is. Right? This is pictures. This is colors, pictures. You can follow at home, looking on your phone, just not while you're driving, but just look at it. Why is it so big? Why now is it so much higher on the impulse plot? It's because impulse is cumulative. Okay, it keeps building over time. So you just took your 20-inch 308 muzzle blast and you threw fire on it. That's what you're doing with 5.56 and 10-inch barrel. Okay, so all those silencers that you saw tested on the bolt action 20-inch barrel 308, all those silencers, all that stuff. You just took you took almost the same load input and you threw fire on it and you made it bigger when we use the Mark 18. That's what you're doing. Okay? It's like that show, you know that show that did the cars with the rapper guy, Exhibit? He's like, yo, dog, I heard you like muzzle blast, so I put muzzle blast on your muzzle blast. That's what it is. Like, literally. It is what it is. He's like, man, I heard you like unsuppressed impulse. So I put some impulse on your impulse waveforms to get more impulse. You're like, pimp my hearing damage. That's like what you're doing. That's what this is. That's what's happening. And that's why I put these pictures in here. Okay, so, and I put two of them so you could see, well, so you might see pressure and be like, oh, well, that doesn't matter because that happens. No. First of all, it happens way before ground reflection, so it's not that. It's real. Okay, that's actually blast. And you have the impulse to prove it too. All right, those are time-stamped, homie. Like, those graphs are consistent. Like that's real data. Okay. So I mean, and it's not going away. Like, what did I say on the last episode? I gave you some confidence. I was like, look, don't worry. It's not like you're gonna miss it. It's not one of those things like you're gonna have to pay attention. No, it's on the website. It's free for everybody. You can reference this as long as you need to. Okay, so that'll be there. It'll be there for you. So I want you to keep this in mind when using SBRs, short barrel rifles. Okay, when suppressing them, when suppressing short barrel 5.56, when shooting it, please don't shoot short barrel 5.56 unsuppressed. Like without hearing, like, okay, well that period. But I know some of you don't have silencers, but don't do it without hearing protection. Ever, please. Like ever, never, ever. And I'll probably touch on that in the next topic a little bit. We'll talk about the magnitude of the hearing damage you can get from unsuppressed 5.56 on a short barrel. But just looking at these waveforms, this should tell you something really bad is happening at the muzzle. And remember, the 10-inch barrel 5.56, guess how much closer that is to your ear, homie, than the 20-inch? Well, it's twice as close. What do we know about sound pressure severity when distance changes? Well, it goes up exponentially, doesn't it? Yes, it does. It's not linear. None of this stuff is linear, as you're quickly figuring out. So, yeah, it's non-linear death to your ears. Okay. So, yeah, so now this research supplement, this article here, this 651, it also contains other information, which you really need to be aware. Okay, with regard to suppressing a rifle and suppressing an automatic rifle. Okay, so a lot of things matter. There's a lot of knobs to turn. Okay, so we're not in Kansas anymore. Okay, you guys wanted this. You wanted 5.56 data. You don't care about 5.56 bolt action. So you would have crucified me if I would have started publishing that. What we needed to do 5.56 bolt action, but you guys didn't want that. You wanted semi-autos because you used the Mark 18. And here we are. I'm just giving you a hard time, but it is your fault. So, no, a lot of things matter. The military, I guess they're moving away from this gun now, but there's so many out in circulation, at least the data will be somewhat useful. So sit back, read that article, 651, and then after you're finished, maybe you listen to this topic again, you get my comments on it, you read that, you digest it, and then after you're finished, maybe you dive into the Surefire silencer that we're going to talk about right now in topic 2. Yeah, okay. So let's pull up this window here. Topic 2 at a time of 22 minutes and 57 seconds. Okay, so now we're getting to the meat of this here. Okay. Let's see. Topic 2. Yeah, Sound Signature Review 652. Okay, so this was published in concert with 651 that I just spoke about on the previous topic, in concert with that research supplement to help you understand this. This is Sound Signature Review 652, the Surefire SOCOM556-RC2 on the Mark 18 5.56 SBR. Call it an SBR, it's a machine gun, it's a short barrel rifle. Finally you're getting 5.56, and what did we start with? We started with a short barrel 5.56. Because we're crazy. Okay. All right, get some water. Okay. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to the website here. I'm going to go back one. I'm going to go to the review page, and I'm going to click on 652, the article here, so I can walk through it with you. And, of course, if you're at home following along, you can do that as well on the website. Okay, so was this a good 5.56 silencer with which to start our journey? I think so. The ubiquitous 5.56 silencer from Surefire. I think it made sense. It did, because I think a lot of folks have the silencer, and I think a lot of folks have heard a lot of different types of information about the silencer. And I have heard so many things from people about this silencer. So many things. So many folks have told me that Surefire silencers are really loud. And then many folks have told me that Surefire silencers sound really nice. And that's weird, right? Like really interesting opinions. Oftentimes, when I hear opinions about a silencer, they're pretty one-sided overall. They're pretty one-sided. Like, sure, there's some subjective factors to consider too. There are, but by and large, the consensus ends up like proliferating that rather uniformly. Like usually folks form a consensus and that consensus gets run with. It just, that's kind of what happens in the consumer space, from what I've seen on, on the internet and when people talk at the gun shops, things like that. People just kind of stick with a story and that narrative proliferates. Now, in the case of Surefire, the opinions were varied and pretty hard lined. And this was weird. So the folks say that they're, excuse me. Folks say that they're, folks that say that they're loud, that they seem really, really sure. They seem really, really sure that they're loud. And then the folks that say they sound good seem to be really, really sure too. They're like, man, I love the way my Surefire RC2 sounds. That's like really strange, right? Like, I'm like, why is that? Why is that? I noticed this last year, and then I tested the 7.62 RC2 last year, I was like, okay. And I had never shot Surefire silencers. Before I tested that 7.62 RC2, I had never shot them. And I looked at the results on that bolt action test with the 7.62 RC2, and I was like, man, something is wrong here. And then you all know the story. I had a call with Surefire. Sure enough, they told me that the war comp was not designed for a lot of suppressed use. And then they sent me a flash hider. They sent me alignment rods. They sent me a three-prong flash hider. They sent me all this stuff to say, because they're like, man, if he's having problems, what's going on? Da-da-da. There's like, maybe it's the mount. Maybe, I didn't know. I didn't know anything about their silencers. So they sent me all this stuff, and it was really cool. So then I went and I tested the 7.62 RC2 again with the three-prong flash hider, and the results were significantly different. Significantly different. I studied the waveforms, and I determined that the war comp was leaking. I determined that the war comp was leaking a significant amount of overpressure, directly impacting the shooter. Okay, and the shooter being me shooting it, directly impacting my face. Okay, my head. The gas was so severe that even observers would be able to tell. That's what we discovered. We discovered that through the data. Okay, this was bolt action. The 7.62 RC2 on a bolt action 308. So that's when I really came to the thought. I was like, man, are people just not liking Surefire silencers because they've been using the mounts that leak? Could that be true? I was thinking about that. I was like, could it be that people are just using war comps or like other mounts that leak? Like if there are any, and maybe are they basing their experiences on that? Could that be a reason? And then I started thinking about other stuff. I was like, what about carbon lock? As I move my keyboard and knock a silencer over. I have like so many silencers on my desk right now. It's a problem. Hold on, I'm going to pause this recording for a second. All right, sorry guys, I'm back. Man, and I was actually listening to the recording, and so I don't know if you guys, we're going to take a detour really quick. I don't know if you guys if you ever lived in Texas or the southern part of the United States or the Gulf Coast, do you know what cicadas are? They're like locusts, I guess. They make this really weird sound at night, or like the frogs do too, and the crickets, and like there's all kinds of stuff making noise. And so I'm sorry if there's background noise of the insects because it's not quite dark yet. Usually I record a little bit later in the day when it's darker, and when it's darker, there's less background noise. But there's really nothing I can do about this background noise now because it is what it is. So if it annoys you too badly, well, you're just going to have to deal with it, okay? Okay, so back to what I was saying. So then so we talked about the war comp leaking, and then I started thinking about, man, is that what people are thinking? Are people getting mount leaks with Surefire silencers, and is that why some people think they're loud? And I was like, I don't know. And then I started thinking about carbon lock, and I was like, oh my God. is that huge carbon lock issue happening because a lot of people are using war comps too. Like, oh my gosh, like Surefire gives you a brush with your silencer. They do. You can take the silencer off when it cools, and you can brush out the blast chamber. You can wipe off your mount. I mean, you can definitely clean it, but what if it's subjected to significantly more muzzle gas? Like, what about the combustion products? Like, all that gas, what about all that unburnt powder on the 10.3 that creates that extra blast? And then what if you're shooting the war comp? And what if you're shooting the war comp on the 10.3? What if you're putting a war comp on an SBR with a silencer? Is it going to carbon lock faster? I mean, you're blowing way more carbon into the mount interface, and then it's going to cool. What does that do? Is that going to lock on there? I mean, maybe. These questions are kind of rhetorical. But at the same time, that this is what started going through my head. So these were all really all the questions going through my head since last year when I tested the 7.62 RC2. And so, of course, when it came time for 5.56 testing, I thought to myself, okay, let's make sure we have a 5.56 RC2 in the test library. All right, the PEW Science reference collection needs a 5.56 RC2, okay, because we need to understand these phenomena, and we need to do it in a way that's thorough and applicable, okay? And so, and the Mark 18 test house was perfect for this. So I bought a Surefire 5.56 RC2 directly from Surefire. Like, I bought it on Form 3. It was back ordered for quite some time. It came in earlier this year. I posted some photos of it to show you guys that I bought one. And I shot it a few times. I probably put around 100, 200 rounds through it or something like that. And then I kind of put it on the shelf, and I was like, okay, I'm going to test this next time I go out for 5.56 testing. Okay. And when we settled on the Mark 18 for the first round here, I was like, okay, this silencer was basically designed for this gun. And this gun, while evolved, because this is like this is the updated Mark 18, right? So this has an H2 buffer, like all the military armors and all the folks are telling me they use with it. It has the 070 gas port, which is the updated gas port size, which is shrunk down from what it originally was when the Mark 18 was first fielded. Okay, so it's evolved like that, but just because it's evolved like that doesn't mean it's perfect, and it still does have an ejection port signature that's a function of flow restriction. Okay. And that's why this is a great test host for this RC2, because this matters a lot for a 5.56 bore silencer like the RC2. Okay, this is a dedicated 5.56 silencer, and anytime you have a weapon system that really highlights a flow restriction or a mass flow rate change, it's gonna show up. It's gonna be something to think about. And so instead of waiting to test this silencer on both mounts in different sessions like I did with a 7.62 RC2 by chance, I reached out to Silencer Shop actually, and I say, hey, do you guys have a war comp that I can borrow? And they're like, yeah. And so I did all of this in one test session, dude. 3-prong flash hider that I bought, that has the labyrinth seals, those machined rings we've talked about ad nauseum at this point, and the war comp closed tine flash hider, which I didn't want to buy one because I already knew from see, you guys were all waiting for this data. I already knew it was going to happen. Like, I had such high confidence in the 7.62 RC2 data and the fact that the mount was going to leak that I already knew it was going to be horrible. So I was like, I'm not going to buy one. I don't even want that in my house. I'm just going to borrow one. So I'm saying that jokingly, but also like I mean it, because I that's how much I hate the war comp. So anyway, I hate it as a silencer enthusiast, not anything else. Like, it's not personal. I think it's not good for people who like silencers. So I tested it with both. I tested the silencer with both mounts, and boy howdy, I am here to tell you right now, anyone, and I mean anyone, who tells you that they can't tell a difference between using the 3-prong flash hider and the war comp with this silencer, they're either feeding you a big old heaping spoon of BS, or they have severe hearing issues. Like severe hearing issues. Like, you can feel the difference, not only hear it. I mean, there's a blast wave, so you can feel the difference. I promise. It's in the data. Okay, I had earplugs in my ears, and I noticed a huge difference. I had earplugs shoved into my ears to the point where they were shoved in so far, if I tried to take them out, they'd hurt my ears with suction. Like, because I knew this was going to be loud. I knew it. Yeah, so I shoved those things in like my life depended on it, and my hearing depended on it, because it did. Excuse me. So yeah, bottom line, 35.7 composite suppression rating on the Mark 18. Okay? And I just clicked on, I'm on the review, I accidentally clicked on something. So 35.7 on the Mark 18 overall for this silencer. 35.4 at the muzzle. 22.2 at the ear. Okay, so really good at the muzzle. It's amazing, actually. It's amazing. To 35 at the ear. I mean, at the muzzle. 35 at the muzzle on a 10.5-inch 5.56. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's. I'm telling you, I've tested a lot, and you haven't seen it yet. But I saw that. I was like, oh, really? Okay. I mean, a lot of people say it sounds great. Okay. But then on the Mark 18, 22.2 at the ear. Yeah. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? Well, the shooter is pretty close to the muzzle due to the short barrel and short silencer. We knew that. Okay, we knew that. I mean, a meter away, it's at 35. It's over 35. A meter away, you're like, okay, that's interesting. You're a meter away from the gun. It's 35. Okay. You're, right in line with the end cap there. Okay. But there's an ejection port, and this Mark 18 without an adjustable gas block, just sitting here, and you got H2 buffer. You say, okay, well the buffer's helping you. The buffer's helping you over a stock carbine buffer, but it's not an H3. And the silencer's adding dwell time on this carbine gas system. I know the barrel's not that long, but the silencer's adding dwell time. It has flow restriction. It's a 5.56 bore. So you may need a smaller port so that the bolt doesn't unlock too early. Okay, what happens when your bolt unlocks too early? Well, let's high pressure gas out of the ejection port. All right, so in other words, these numbers are telling you that you may need to tune this gun. And you're not, and it's hard for you listening to this and reading this review. It's hard for you because you don't see the full picture yet, because you don't have all the data I have. But I'm telling you, this data is telling you that you should try to improve the ear signature on this gun with this silencer. I can't tell you 100% because I haven't done an instrumented test with the RC with this silencer on a tuned host. I haven't done that yet, but I'm telling you from the data, you're gonna want to try, because I know I am. And I can tell you that if I'm going to try, that's going to tell you I'm going to be expending effort to do something, and I'm busy. So if I'm going to put forth the effort, it's important. And you know that I wouldn't just be saying this to say it. I mean, look at it. I mean, you start to use your brain here. I mean, look now because look at the war comp, 29.2 at the muzzle. So you're dropping 5 points 1 meter away. You're dropping half a suppression rating category just by changing the mount because of a gas leak, dude. So that should tell you something. You're a meter away and you're dropping half a category? Dude. That's interesting. And then you're at 13.3 at the ear with the war comp. Now you're dropping almost 10 points at the shooter's position. You're dropping a whole category. You went from 22.2 to 13.3. You're dropping 10 points, dude. That's a lot. That's a loud day for you. Shooting this gun with a war comp. It's a loud day for you. 13.3 at the ear. On the Mark 18 with a war comp? With a silencer? Yeah, I believe it. That's hellishly loud, dude. 13.3 at the ear is hellishly loud. That's not good for you. That will punish you. It's not unsuppressed loud. Unsuppressed Mark 18 at the ear is going to rattle your teeth, dude. And that's not even using a brake. That will rattle your teeth. Unsuppressed, you're down at like 1.5 or like 1.7 or something suppression rating at the ear. You're down at the scale where I don't really quantify. Okay, I mean, it'll give you the suppression rating will give you a number down there, but you're foolish if you're subjecting your ear to that. It's foolish. It's a fool's errand to see how to if you shoot a Mark 18 unsuppressed without hearing protection, you've done everything you're not supposed to do with a firearm, and you're hitting the never shoot the gun without ears level of loud. Okay, there's much louder stuff than that. It will permanently damage your hearing with one shot when you're getting to that range. I promise you. Okay, that's just physiology. It's gonna rock your world, dude. So, short barrel 5.56. You better be wearing hearing protection if you ever shoot unsuppressed. Okay, it's gonna rattle your teeth. It's gonna rock your world. You're not gonna like that. So, okay, so this is a lot of data. It's a lot to take in, right? So what do we know so far? Let's bring it back. We're gonna kind of summarize. So we know that this silencer performs better at the muzzle on this gun than at the ear. We know that. Okay. We know that the ear rating is over a suppression category lower than the muzzle rating. Okay, that's a pretty big disparity. So, okay. So using this information, we're fairly confident. But because of this information I'm telling you, that this host is probably tunable for this silencer. Right? So this should be of no surprise to you given the bore aperture of the silencer and what we know about flow restriction. It should not be a significant surprise to you that this could happen, given what you know so far, given what we've talked about with the Stoner system. Okay, and so finally, what else do we know so far? We know that the mount matters a lot. A lot. Okay, so let's talk more. Let's talk more about the war comp. Let's talk, and I'm just is this the last time I'm going to talk about it? It might be, because I feel we've done so much, but I really want to drive the point home. I want you to know what it is, why it's doing what it does, and what can you do about it. Okay, so I feel like I talked about it a bunch. It was, what was it? Sound Signature Review 626 with a 7.62 RC2 on 308. I talked about it again in review 646 with the same silencer on 300 blackout. And I didn't test it again with 300 blackout, but I mentioned it. And now you see it again in this review 652 with the Mark 18 with the 5.56 RC2. Different silencer, same type of mount, same type of system. Okay, so the war comp is meant to be used unsuppressed when you just throw a silencer on it in a pinch. That's what a war comp's for. The 3-prong is meant to be used unsuppressed whenever you want, or full time. Throw a silencer on it, shoot it all day long with the 3-prong, or just leave the silencer on permanently with the 3-prong. The 3-prong is for that. Okay, so that's all there is to it. The war comp has ports. What do the ports do? Creates thrust. So then the port that changes the recoil kinematics of the weapon, but that only works unsuppressed, dude. If you put a silencer on a ported compensator, what happens to the ports? They're directing thrust into the silencer. The silencer is attached to the weapon. So then the ports aren't doing anything except what they do on the RC2, which is shoot hot superheated gas into the mount interface that leaks and causes more carbon lock and makes a blast wave happen at your face. That's what the war comp does. When you put a silencer on it, like literally, we have scientific, we have proven, we have data, we have test data, we have, you feel it on your face, you see it on your safety glasses, you feel the particulates, you feel the blast wave, you see it in the data, multiple tests, multiple ammo types, multiple weapon types, 2 silencers, definitive, end of story, conclusive. Okay? But the war comp helps you shoot flatter unsuppressed. So if you're a competition shooter and you don't want to use a silencer, but for some reason you don't like the recoil of 5.56, well, you can put a war comp on it, and it's a tactical compensator, and you can have less recoil. Because the folks at Surefire, Barry, he designs the stuff. He's a nice person. He's also a competition shooter, so I'm sure that influenced his decision to create the war comp. He probably wanted something he could use unsuppressed for his competition. He's like, hey, I want to throw a silencer on here too, and he figured that maybe the military folks would also shoot unsuppressed a lot, and it would help them. And then if they needed a silencer in a pinch, they could throw the silencer on there to mask their signature. It's probably what mask their flash. That's probably what he's thinking. And so they did. Okay, so if you're in that boat, then the war comp might be for you. Tell you right now, there is no way for that gas from those ports to stay in that silencer, dude. It's not going to work. There is nothing stopping it from just flowing out the rear of the mount interface. It's going to expand spherically into the atmosphere like a bubble. Like, if you can picture a bubble slowly forming, it's kind of what it would look like if you could see overpressure. So a blast wave's formed, and it propagates out of the mount, and it's almost instantaneous rise to peak pressure at your face. It's a shock wave. It's going to bounce off your head. Okay, it's in the data. It's in the data. The members in the member review can see that. You can see the shock wave at the ear. Okay, spoiler alert. If you're not a PEW Science member, if you subscribe to PEW Science and support the effort, you too can see shock waves at your face from the war comp. Yeah, so what it shows, just to prove it to you if you doubt it, it's real. It's real. You know what? It's so real. And I'll scroll to a figure. I know I said I was going to walk through the review and go through the figures like I usually do, but I didn't this time. If you scroll down, though, I'll do that right now. If you scroll down to, what is it? Yeah, figure 5B. Yeah. The leak, and this is the public review, figure 5B. The leak is so significant, so severe, and it happened so early. You can see it in the muzzle waveform a meter away. This isn't even at the ear. You can see this shock wave produced by this mount leak. It's so bad from this rifle with this war comp with the silencer. This leak is so bad. You can see it in the muzzle waveforms 1 meter away. It happens that early in time too. The bullet leaves, that you see that, and then you see a crazy spike. Figure 5B. Look at it. Look at it. The first shot's 150 dB. Isn't that crazy? Look how much it jumps up from the bullet exit event. It's like, what is it in actual pascals? Over double the pressure leaks out of the mount after the bullet leaves. Isn't that crazy, dude? It's like the craziest thing ever. So yeah, and then what I did, I was like, well, hey, okay, let me put this in perspective for you. Let me compare it to the 3-prong. So, because I figured it was going to be hard for you to flip back and forth between the plots. So I overlaid it for you in figure 9A. Scroll all the way down. All the way down. Figure 9. Go to figure 9. It's in the public review. Figure 9. Look at it. Look at figure 9A. Look at the bullet exit from each mount. It's right on top of each other. Strikingly similar. You actually see a bit of weirdness in the war comp waveform, don't you? In the red, I'm going to click on it to make it bigger. Now you can see that bigger now, figure 9A. Click on it. You actually see a little bit of weirdness in the war comp waveform. It's almost like there's some gas starting to come out first before the bullet, right? You see that? Well, that makes sense, right? What pushes the bullet? Gas. How long does it take the bullet to get to the silencer? Well, there's a finite amount of time. Well, what's pushing it? Gas. Right? Okay, so very well might be gas coming out of the mount before the bullet leaves. You can see it. And then what happens? Then you get wham, you get whammo. You get a huge boom. You see a huge spike over twice the magnitude of the exit signature in the war comp history, dude. And the 3-prong is just chugging along, suppressing around the amplitude of the bullet exit event, like choo, 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 I'm suppressing. Then after that leak, the war comp history continues to oscillate heavily. Look at the graph. Look at the plot. Look at the red. The black is the 3-prong. It's like lets the bullet out. It's like whoosh, and then it's like pshoo. And then the war comp's like kabam, and then it's like wah, and it's like oscillating really, really quick. All right. Well, what do those oscillatory events mean? What does that do? Well, it's hard for you to understand that in the high frequency regime like that. So that's fine. Look at the next figure, figure 9B. Okay. Look at figure 9B. You can get a feel for this, right? Because this is impulse now instead of pressure. So you look at figure 9B, you know I'm going to show you both pressure and impulse. Come on, fam. I'm not going to do you wrong here. So now you see how the war comp actually has a faster rise time and a steeper slope. More pressure leaking out faster. That's what causes that. It's dumping gas faster, isn't it? Slopes. Remember the omega metric and how I created that? What is this doing, dude? It's letting gas out faster. Why would that be? There's a leak. That's right. It's a gas leak. Does the omega metric capture that? Yes. Did I publish it? No. You don't even need to see it. You can look at the graph. Okay, I didn't get around to it. Doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. You have the ear waveforms anyway at least the members do. That's one of the benefits of being a PEW Science member. In addition to supporting PEW Science, keeping it going, you get to see the impact on the shooter's ear. So you don't even really need the omega metric, do you? Because you can see this. You already know how the weapon works. Now, will we publish that later? Yeah, I'm sure we will. But for right now, it doesn't matter for you. All you have is this one. So yeah, look at it. Steeper slope with the war comp. Cool, right? It's cool. It's higher impulse. It's worse. Makes sense. This is at the muzzle. Higher impulse. It's faster impulse. They get to the peak. These two waveforms. The 3-prong kind of throttles a little bit. It's like kind of plateaus and then it dumps, decays. Almost exactly the same rate as the war comp. Interesting, right? Excuse me. Interesting. It's interesting that happens. It's two different mounts, same silencer, time-dependent behavior. Two different tests. So it's 2 different tests, 2 different mounts, same silencer. Time-dependent behavior. That's real stuff. This is real stuff, guys. This is what real silencer testing looks like. Okay? That's awesome. That shows this figure 9B in this review shows you exactly what is happening with the whole entire system. No, you've never seen this in your life ever. Surefire's never seen it. No one in the world's ever seen it. It's the first time anyone's ever seen this. Ever. And it's perfectly correct. And it perfectly describes exactly what we know about the 2 mounts and the way they behave with the silencer, right? Isn't that cool? Okay. Now, if you're a member, boy howdy, if you're a member, you need to check this out because you need to see this. If you need to see what happens at the ear, because it's wild. All right, I would do a disservice to the supporters of PEW Science if I told you any more than that. All right, if you're a member, go check out the ear waveforms in the review, and then check out the war comp and the 3-prong comparisons in the review too that I did for you. It's wild. It shows you unequivocally why, if you are wanting to actually run the silencer, you better have a dang good reason for why you want the war comp. Okay? You better be shooting unsuppressed like all the time, dude, because there is just no other reason to use a war comp. No reason ever. It's louder. It's dirtier. It doesn't work as well. Okay? I'm not going to tell you what to buy. I never do. I don't care what you buy. But I will tell you, if you use the silencer, the performance of the silencer is compromised by using the war comp. You will compromise the performance of the system. Okay? So much so that you might think the silencer's loud. That's because the war comp doesn't allow the silencer to do its job. The gas doesn't even get to go into it. It leaks out. It lets gas out before it can get through the silencer, guys. All right? It lets gas out before it can even get in. It's just not right. Okay? So here's the thing. A lot of people are asking about the other types of Surefire mounts too, because of course you're thinking about that and you're like, oh my God, what if the other ones don't work? So now there do exist some more besides the closed tine flash hider war comp and the 3-prong flash hider that I tested. And if you need to know what these look like, go to the Instagram or Facebook post that I posted with this review, and you can see the two exact mounts I tested. Okay, because a lot of you are asking, oh, what mount should I buy? I'm like, I don't know, but if you look at the mounts in the picture I posted, it'll tell you the ones that I tested. Okay, now in addition to those, there's a couple of other mounts. There's a brake mount, which has the seals like the 3-prong. Okay, we don't expect that to leak. There's also a closed tine flash hider that's not a war comp. Okay, and it doesn't have the seal. So that's a really interesting thing. And it's not something I really thought a lot about before. It is possible that the non-ported closed tine flash hider leaks too. It is possible, dude. And it doesn't have the ports, but also it doesn't have those machine rings on the rear, the so-called labyrinth seals. It's interesting, right? It's not really seals per se. They're just machined rings that sort of bear upon the blast chamber wall and then sort of create a gas obstruction. It's not really a seal per se. It's not a taper. So, it's funny. There was an anecdotal report on Reddit from a dude who said his closed tine non-war comp mount leaked more than a 3-prong with the seals. So maybe there's something to that. The dude has both. He tried them. He said it leaked. He said it was louder. I haven't tested that. I don't know. He said that. Maybe there's something to that on the next series. Maybe I'll evaluate it. Maybe I'll get one of those mounts too. So I will say, all in all, enough about the mount. All in all, I'm going to say this is a solid silencer. This is just my opinion. This is subjective, but it has a great muzzle signature. I can tell you that. It has a great muzzle signature. And I don't know you, or I don't know. I know you don't have other 5.56 silencer data from me yet, from PEW Science. I know you don't. Okay? I know. But I can tell you right now, 35.4 at the muzzle on a 10.3 inch barrel is nothing to sneeze at. And now at the ear on the Mark 18, you're down at 22.2 with this silencer, but man, that's with the untuned host. I haven't done the testing yet, but from the other tuned AR testing I have done, I do believe that the ear rating is going to go up if you keep that bolt closed longer, dude. I do think that. And I don't shoot the messenger. I wish I had test data to show you for that. You could use adjustable gas. You could use a Surefire OBC. You could use a heavier buffer, a heavier spring, or a combination of things to get that buffer to stay closed longer. Man, I would really like to shrink that gas port on the Mark 18 for dedicated suppressed use. Or put an adjustable gas block on it, but I can't neuter this upper. You know what I'm going to do now? You don't have to build another Mark 18 to tune it. Oh, maybe that's what we do, dude. Oh my God, I just thought of that. I know I have the 11.5 inch tuned, but that's going to be changing more variables. What if we just got a Mark 18 and changed the gas block to adjustable gas? What if we just did that? And then I could have another Mark 18 And it could look cool, just like this one with a cool little rail. But it would be tuned with adjustable gas. Yeah? We could do that. I might set that plan in motion soon, my friends. I might set that plan in motion soon. And I will say, I got this one. I bought this one from Charlie's Clones. That upper, shout out to Charlie's Clones if you guys are listening. Maybe I buy one from them, the other parts without the gas block. Maybe I put an Inconel gas tube from V7 in there with an adjustable gas block. I just had that. I'm sorry, I just got off track. I didn't plan on talking about that, but I just had that thought on the podcast just now. Perhaps we do that. We do a Mark 8. Maybe that's what we do. Maybe instead of publishing 11.5 inch tuned, we do tuned Mark 18. We do tuned Mark 18 with adjustable gas block and an H3. Or I do, you know what I mean, Jelly Bean? What if we do that? What if we go crazy time? How quiet can the Mark 18 get? What if we do that, dude? Would that be useful to you? Well, let's ask yourself. Ask yourself, would that be useful to you? Instead of changing two variables. Okay, hear me out. We're taking a detour. Hear me out. What if we do that? Instead of chasing two variables and doing Mark 18 and then 11.5 inch mid optimized, what if we did Mark 18 standard and Mark 18 tuned? What is that doing, guys? It's being actual scientists instead of doing this crazy crap when we change multiple variables. What if we just changed the tuning of the weapon? It would be worst case Mark 18, then it would be best case Mark 18. And then everyone with a Mark 18 would know how good the Mark 18 could be with their silencer. And then anyone with a tune at 11.5 and a 12.5 could know that it's just going to get better. And we can cross that bridge. But this could be cool. What do you think? This is a discussion point. We're going to have this discussion the following week. I'm going to do some polls. We're going to talk about that. We're going to ask for more listener questions. It's going to be very interactive with PEW Science. Okay, so buckle up. Perfect. Okay, I'm going to write that note right now. Write that note to myself. Solicit Mark 18 tuned feedback from PEW Science people. Okay. Wait, how are we doing on time? Oh, we're over an hour in. That's healthy. Okay. Okay, so where was I? Oh my God, I lost my place. I had made a note too. Yeah, oh, right. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So we ended up with the conclusion that maybe we want to tune the Mark 18 instead of doing the 11.5 inch mid. Okay, yeah. So that's that. And then also, I will say about the silencer, I think because of what we know about the war comp, I think this system has some legs. Like, what do I mean? I mean, with the 3-prong, this silencer, I think it has some legs as a 5.56 system. I do. So next time I go out, I might just test it with the we'll do it. Maybe if I can get the tuned Mark 18 in time, I test it with that. Well, maybe I just test it on just this one on the optimized 11.5, just to know the difference. Because I tell you what, on this previous test series I did, and it was from some client work, and it's not, I can't release it yet, but I did see the difference of what a silencer can do on the Mark 18 versus the tuned 11.5. It was a private test program, or one of them, and this silencer I tested, it improved it at the ear. It did. It is noticeable in not only the data but in the experience. So is that a combination of ejection port and longer barrel? A little bit, maybe. Is it enough to be significant? I think so. Yes, I do. How high does it get? Well, it gets higher. Does it get to a point where that you really, really are super excited about? Well, maybe not. Okay, so I think that's really going to be the pay dirt here. going to find out, well, how much better can we make this? And that's the question that everyone wants to know. Well, how good can you make it? Okay, that's the question. I do believe I did shoot this silencer, this RC2, on my 11.5-inch tuned. I do believe I did with the adjustable gas. I do believe I even told you that it took less clicks open of the gas block to run the gun than it did the Helios QD because it had higher back pressure than the Helios QD. Well, why does that? Well, the Helios QD had or has a much larger bore, so much larger you can almost shoot 338 through the damn thing. This RC2 is a 5.56 bore. Of course it's going to have higher back pressure. I mean, it's a shorter silencer, but of course it's going to have higher back pressure. It's a tighter bore. So we knew that, but I can't remember when I shot my 11.5-inch mid. I can't remember if I had used the normal bolt carrier group because I was swapping the upper really quick and I didn't want it from the Mark 18 and I didn't want to switch the buffer and spring. I may have switched only the bolt carrier group from the Mark 18 upper into the 11.5-inch upper, and so I maybe didn't use the OBC, which is a bolt carrier group and a special buffer and spring. So I can't remember what I did. So when I shot it, I can't remember how it performed on the 11.5, the Surefire on the 11.5. I can't remember how the RC2 did. It's been a while, been a minute. So I can't remember that. I haven't tested that setup yet. So something I can look at later. And I'm telling you, with a muzzle rating like that on this gun, there's some tuning, dude. There's some tuning. So stay tuned for that. We might just have to run 5.56 testing analysis a little wild. I might go rogue. I might start throwing some stuff in. We might be crazy. We might not be as regimented as we were with 308 because there's so many variables. We might have to hop around and chase some stuff when we can. Okay, and that's part of the fun. We're going to see what we can do. We're going to talk about it. Maybe we guess. Maybe we make some games out of it. Maybe we say, hey, what do you guys think is going to happen? Maybe we do some contests, some giveaways. No, just kidding. Maybe so. I don't know how that works. Disclaimer, I don't know if those are legal in your area. Okay, topic 3. Let's get out of this. We're nosediving rapidly. We're going to pull up on the stick. Don't eject. Topic 3 at a time of 1 hour, 7 minutes, and 7 seconds. I like that. Good omen. Okay. Topic 3. Didn't get to shoot my gun because of work. Boo. Sucks. But also I got all the Griffin CAM-LOK stuff in. I did. And so that's cool. I am cautiously optimistic. I will give you my initial impressions now. But I'm going to give you another consumer's experience that, oh God, that may or may not be great. And that's, so I started a thread on ARFCOM, the AR15.com, in the armory there in the suppressor forum. There's a forum there. You can talk about silencers. It can be a great place or a bad place. Anyway, I started a thread there. Shout out Powerful ARFCOM. I started a thread to get feedback, some honest feedback from users, and I'm going to continue to post in it. I actually didn't check the thread today. I try to check it at least once a day. I didn't check it today. I don't know what's going on, and it could be wild. You know that place. It gets out of hand quickly. A lot of people are liking it. So far, from what I saw, a lot of people were liking the CAM-LOK. We'll see. Now, that being said, I have just played with it here in my office. It seems cool. Like I told you last time, I torqued the adapter on my carry gun. Like I'm insane for doing that probably, but I did it already. I'm going crazy. I already did it. So I think today or yesterday I got the final piston in that I wanted. So I have a piston now for rugged and dead air. Or at least some of the dead air stuff, and if it's the rugged and the silencer and I've got a silencer co one, and I got a CGS one. So these are all CAM-LOK pistons to fit the silencers, the pistol silencers I have. Oh, and no, yeah, I got one for the Tyrant 45 too, which I have a couple of Tyrant 45s. I think no, do I have a couple? No, I have one. I have a Tyrant 45, an original one, and then I have a Tyrant 9. And I have a Tyrant 9 in inventory. It's not mine, but I'm borrowing it. And then I have a Tyrant 9M. But the Griffin CAM-LOK doesn't work for the Tyrant 9. It only works for the Tyrant 45. But maybe they'll make one later. I don't know. So anyway, I got some feedback from some consumers, though, guys. And I wanted to share that with you, some folks that have used it. And this is feedback that's negative. And I felt like it kind of put alarm bells off in my head. And I figured, well, I'll talk about it on the podcast because both these guys are awesome guys. They're honest, and I feel like I can relay this. Because, I mean, all I was going to do was give you anecdotal report from using CAM-LOK. So this is the same thing as them telling me. I'll just tell you their stories. It's not like they tested it instrumental way. I'm not going to test the CAM-LOK like this anyway right now anyway. So, it is what it is. It's experiential, so take that with a grain of salt, but I'll talk about them. 2 pieces of feedback from consumers. And some hard work by these guys kind of documented it, right? Okay. So there's 2 people separately. One guy, he told me his loosened because he over tightened it and it wouldn't work right after that. So he got parts replaced. Okay. So it might be okay. I think I mentioned that last time, kind of chalked that up to okay. Could be user error because you can exert a lot of torque with the silencer. You might not need to do that. He over tightened it. He skipped the thing. It deformed something either on the mount or on the piston, and it no longer engage properly. Okay, I chalked that up to user error. Maybe I said okay. Another guy just told me today, like literally like a couple hours ago, before I started recording this podcast. He messaged me. He said, "Hey, he just took his CGS Mod 9 out with his CAM-LOK. And he shot his silencer downrange twice, dude. His silencer flew off his gun he was shooting an indoor range. It flew off of his gun into the freaking firing lane. Twice. With the Griffin CAM-LOK, dude. So, of course, I asked for details. I said, what? I was like, oh my God, this is horrible. Please tell me everything. He said it happened 20 rounds in. I said, what gun, bro? He said a B&T Mark II pistol, 9mm. It's a 9mm semi-auto, 4.3-inch barrel. It's a nice gun, too. I was like, what? Not a pistol caliber carbine, not a subgun, a semi-auto handgun, dude. Like the CAM-LOK is designed for and intended for. Dude told me it happened 20 rounds in. 20 rounds in. I said, after that, he's like, all right, that sucked. He's a trooper, kept trying, switched to a 5-round strings to see what was up, and he noticed it was getting loose at the end of each 5-round string of fire. He said that when it was initially screwed on, like I asked him, I said, okay, hold on. Knowing the other guy's feedback prior, I was like, okay, tell me everything. Did you He-Man this thing on, bro? Did you break it? And he was like, he said when he initially screwed it on, he screwed it on comfortably snug, just snug, comfortable. I said, okay, makes sense. You shouldn't have to baby this thing. It's a damn silencer mount. I said, okay, seemed reasonable. After that, he said he tried both. Just a little snug, and then he was like, I'm going to wail on it because I don't trust it. Of course. I mean, he just threw it. Frankly, I'm a little bit surprised this dude tried it again, but hey, I guess he figured if it's messed up now, why not do some research? Hey, hats off to you, sir. You're doing God's work. I see a little bit of me in you. Good job. So he was like, I'm just going to try. So he wailed on it. He said that actually helped a little bit. When he tightened it really tight, it helped him have a couple extra rounds before it loosened, but it still didn't really help that much. I said, well, what do you got ammo you're using? He said, I'm using 124 grain 9mm. Okay, well, that's NATO. It's nothing crazy. It's not like he's not shooting plus P crazy on a pistol caliber carbine and getting crazy. He's not doing crazy. He's shooting a pistol. NATO ammo. Like I was probably going to do myself this past weekend. I just didn't get time. So, I mean, I was literally going to use Winchester 124 grain NATO to break in that gun. Like I was going to shoot that, and then I was going to put silencer on it with that. Then I was going to try subs. But I was gonna use like regular NATO rounds because I'm pretty sure NATO rounds for 9mm ball rounds, 124 grain. I have that. Is it a little hotter? Yeah, it's a little bit hotter, but whatever. It's a combat pistol. Are you kidding me? And if a silencer doesn't work with that, well, you get a problem. So CAM-LOK better work with that. Griffin better not come back and tell him that he can't use a NATO round. That'd be retarded. So I'm pretty sure, like, I don't know. We're going to find out what happens. Now, so yeah, this was one of the most disappointing messages I have received in a long time. Like a super long time, dude. I was pissed. This guy heard me talking about this on the podcast last week. And then that's why he reached out. He thought I should know. He was like, bro, like I heard you talking about this on the podcast. Guess what just happened to me? I was like, oh my God. So yeah, holy crap. Like I'm not in the same spot as you guys with regard to silencers. I'm not. Okay. Like I can get my silencers replaced easily, like compared to you. Well, that depends. It depends, but relatively, I have less fear. But some silencers I actually can't replace easily. Like, what if this happened to me with some of my old advanced armament stuff, or something? And I shot a K baffle in a Tyrant 9. What if I did that, dude? That would not be a good day for me. That's concerning. So I told the guy to follow up with me after he has a chance to speak with Griffin, and I'm sure this guy's not going to care about me talking about it on the podcast. I'm not mentioning his name, but I told him to follow up with me. I told him I'm going to tell people about it because I want people to know. This is important because I will not use this. Like I'm going to test the system, and if it doesn't work, I'm going to shelve it, and I'll tell you. Okay, like I don't care. This is important. We need to know. Because if this is going to work, it's going to work. If it's not, it's not. So I need to know, is this a parts fitment problem? Is this a thermal expansion problem after you get it hot? Maybe you need to check it out at least each mag. This guy said he went 20 rounds. I don't know how big the rounds are on the B&T Mark II. Or the rounds, I'm sorry, the magazines. I doubt he was using 20-round mags. Maybe he was. I don't know. But if this is... Maybe he was doing 10-round mags, or maybe he was doing 5-round loaded mags. He did it 4 times. I don't know what he was doing. I don't have that much detail yet, but he did tell me it happened 20 rounds in. Is that 15-rounder and then 5 rounds into the next mag? I don't know. Does this mean we just need to check it after every mag? Well, that's what you got to do with a normal silencer mount. So is the CAM-LOK buying us anything? Is it buying us a guaranteed 1 round? Oh, I'm sorry. Is it buying us a guaranteed 1 mag tightening solution? And then once it gets hot from that initial mag, you got to check it after every mag? Or maybe once it gets hot, you got to check it that one time. And then if you keep it hot, it's okay? I don't know. The reason I'm talking about temperature differentials is because Austin, the designer from Griffin, mentioned that in the thread on ARFCOM a couple days ago, I remember. So I was like, dude, and I asked the guy about it. They told me the story. He started talking to me about, it was an indoor range. It was like 70 degrees. I'm like, no. I didn't go into it with him because he's busy. He was actually on his way back from the range. I said, no. I thought to myself, no, he's misunderstanding. I'm not asking him the temperature differential outside. I'm not asking him the operating temperature. I'm asking ambient. I'm asking him, is this a temperature issue with the gun got hot, the mount got hot, differential thermal expansion between the mount and the piston. Silencer gets hot. Silencer gets hot, piston gets really hot. Does that loosen on the gun? Did they allow for that in their design? How well is this design engineered? Is this design engineered? Are we going to find out? Yeah, we are. We are going to find out. Because now it's highlighted. And I started talking about it on the podcast thinking it was going to be great. What? I'm going to talk about it last podcast and not tell you this? And then let a bunch of people buy it? And then they say, well, Jay said it was going to be great? No, dude. I'm finding out as we go. This isn't a silencer. This is a silencer part. And as far as I'm concerned, this is a mechanical problem. So we're going to figure it out. This isn't complicated. This isn't a gas dynamics thing where it's all voodoo inside a tube and you need me. No, you can test this yourself. So let's find out together. And the more people that hear this, the more we can get anecdotal reports. I'm telling you, that thread on ARFCOM I started, there were tons of people that like this, dude. And I was excited. There's a lot of people on there that I've seen posting for at least a decade that I know. And they were like, bro, I take it on, I take it off. I take it on, I take it off. I shoot it, it's awesome. I'm like, that's awesome, dude. I was stoked. I was like, the little taper works? This is amazing. I was so excited. So I have faith. I'm not giving up on this. I'm not giving up on it, okay? So that's all I know for now. I know that was kind of a weird update. It might not help, but it might help, okay? So that's all I know. The adapter's still on my gun. I haven't shot it yet this weekend. Hopefully I will. Okay? So stay tuned. Okay. Okay, we're going to move into the last topic. At a time of 1 hour, 20 minutes, and 26 seconds. Oh, man. You know what? I thought I might hit 2 hours on this one today. I was scared, but I don't think I'm going to. This is great. So topic 4, huge. Oh, this is a big deal too. Huge PEW Science welcome to I can not say this, to 2 new corporate members, Shelton Precision out of Burlington, Washington. Okay, that's a custom rifle builder out of the Northwest there, and then OSS Suppressors. Out of Utah. They're in Murray, Utah there. They make silencers. Super honored to have the support of both those companies for the effort. It's really great. It means a lot, as does the support from all the PEW Science members and the folks listening. You guys listening to this, thank you. Thanks for making the grassroots effort possible. I love doing this podcast for you guys, and I love doing all the science for you too. And so I'm happy. You know, this happened. It's crazy. 2 corporate supporters is a huge help for PEW Science. It's really nice. I was very busy working the other day. I think it was Friday. I can't remember. But out of the blue, I checked my email. And sure enough, these folks joined. Shelton Precision. They're a small custom rifle builder out of Burlington, Washington. I talked to the guy. He just wanted to help. I think he wanted people to know about him too. I mean, it seems reasonable. I said, well, that's fine. Comes with the territory. I put your logo on the website there if you support, if you let me. The folks that let me put their logo on the website, I do. So I put his logo on there. Shelton Precision. He wanted to help the cause. Said, figure I'd give them a shout out on the podcast here. Okay. Talked with the guy. He seemed like a nice person. Always attentive to the reviews. And he wanted to help PEW Science. So now he is. It's very much appreciated. Okay, so that's that guy. And then OSS, well, you guys know who that is already. You know, I flew up to meet them a few months back. I told you about that, remember? I went and I shot a SCAR there with the OSS, and I looked at some of the testing they did and met with their technical folks, met with their manager guy there, their ops guys, and met with their whole team. I tested their things. I showed them my data. They showed me their data. We compared data. They showed me their back pressure data. I showed them my back pressure data. The data matched. They were very excited. I was very excited. It was a big deal for the PEW Science Omega metric. It was a big deal for OSS. Like, they had apparatus I can't really talk about, but they had other stuff there they were doing. It was really great. It seemed to support everything PEW Science was doing too. I was like, oh my gosh, I feel so validated. This is amazing. I must have made an impact because they just threw their hat in the ring too. Like, they did not tell me they were going to do that, dude. That was a surprise. That was really cool. And now I'm thinking, I was making a list earlier and I wrote it down. I was thinking, how many silencer manufacturers does that make that support PEW Science directly? We got CGS. We got Richmond Tactical. We got Radical Firearms. They make silencers. They support PEW Science. KG made. They make all the Dead Air silencers, but they also make their own. And then you got Dead Air. They're not on the website, but they do support PEW Science. There's just a whole thing. Their marketing guys don't want it on the website there, but their engineer does. But hey, the engineer supports PEW Science, so that I have to disclose that. I have to tell you that. I have to disclose that in full disclosure. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and tell you that Dead Air isn't supporting PEW Science. And then they got OSS. So CGS, Richmond Tactical, Radical, KG Made, Dead Air, and OSS. That's 6. 6 silencer manufacturers. Plus a bunch of parts makers and dealers on there. How cool is that, dude? You can see them all on the request for quote page there. If you go to the request for quote on pewscience.com, there in the where you can email me through the website there if you have an inquiry. All those logos there, those folks threw their hat in the ring and support Pew Science. Now, that's not all the Pew Science clients. We have Pew Science clients that, for whatever reason, they're smaller companies. They can't swing the monthly membership contribution. That's fine. They don't have to join. They support us with consulting work. I do consulting for them, but maybe they don't join. But all these folks, they're publicly contributing, so that's amazing. 6 silencer companies. Super honored. Well, I mean, we're well on our way to making things more awesome in the industry, guys. If I can get those 6 silencer companies that do not work together to contribute to a source of data together, they're competitors, dude. Those people compete. When one of those people sells a silencer, that means someone's not buying another person's silencer. That means they're competitors. And they're all supporting Pew Science. What is that? Well, that's what we call a research cooperative. Where does that exist? Many industries. Does it exist in the silencer industry? Well, no, not until now. I mean, the American Suppressor Association has multiple silencer companies paying them, but that's not for research. That's for politics. Now, that's not what Pew Science is. Pew Science isn't about politics. Pew Science is about advancing the state of practice so we get better products for consumers and the industry. This is how to make the silencers better. That's what Pew Science does, and it's working. We are on our way, dude. More awesome stuff for everyone, and you can thank all those companies for it. All those 6 companies, CGS, Richmond Tactical, Radical Firearms, KG Made, Dead Air, and OSS, you can thank all of them individually because they are all throwing their hat in the ring for Pew Science, for you, and you can thank the rest of those companies on there too. Just because they're not silencer companies doesn't mean you can't thank them. Doesn't mean you can't thank them. They're all awesome. So next time you see folks from those companies, be like, guys, you guys are awesome. Thank you for supporting Pew Science. Because you should, and that's why their logos are on there. And the logos are also on there for me to show you that some people kind of like me and they trust me. It gives me a little bit of credibility, doesn't it? A little bit more. Yeah. So lastly, thank you to all the consumer supporters. You guys are helping just as much. I promise you. You're helping just as much. And it's awesome. Okay? So thank you. And, to those of you who can't support, that's okay too. You folks listening, you guys are just as awesome too. And you guys are great, and it's helping, and everyone's contributing to the common goal just by spreading the word. You're helping. You're helping the fellow shooters. You're helping fellow silencer enthusiasts. When someone has a question, you point them to the data, or you tell them the stuff you learned on the podcast or the stuff that you learned from the articles, and everyone wins. And then they teach someone, and then they teach someone. And that's how we make the knowledge grow. Yeah. Okay, so until next time. I know that was a long podcast. Until next time, stay safe, and I will talk with you folks again soon.